dedicated and determined person in the White House, a truly decent person as our next president, a person with a lifelong history of work with us, the people within these United States of America. I am very proud and honored to be part of greeting and helping all of us greet Senator Sanders, but I'm especially humbled by the fact that I was put between two pillars to introduce Senator Sanders, that being Abraham Funches, who I admire and am honored to follow, but also to introduce you to a great man, a great supervisor to introduce Senator Sanders, that person being Mr. Christopher Schwartz.
Thank you, Pat. As Pat said, my name is Chris Schwartz, and I am proud and grateful to serve as the chair of the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors, after making history as becoming the first openly gay elected official in all of Northeast Iowa. I'm even more proud to tell you today that I am the newest Iowa State co-chair of the Bernie Sanders campaign. This is a big responsibility, and it's going to be a lot of work, and I want to tell you all why I'm so excited. I've supported Bernie for a long time. We share the same values and ideas, from opposing unjust wars to building an economy that works for workers, to forging a more empathetic and inclusive society, to ending the despicable practices of factory farms. Before I heard of Bernie Sanders, I was putting those values into action in my own ways. I was 11 years old when I went to my first protest against a series of cross burnings in my hometown of Dubuque. 14 years later, after learning how to organize as a student activist at the University of Northern Iowa, I joined the group Americans for Democratic Action to be their organizer, eventually serving as ADA state director. ADA, for those of you that don't know, dates back almost a century, founded by Eleanor Roosevelt and other progressive luminaries who helped found this organization. And for decades, ADA has proven the same simple idea at the heart of this movement today, that people like us working together from the ground up can bend the system and ensure that American prosperity is widely shared instead of hoarded by a few powerful people and corporations. There's no one in this race quite like Bernie Sanders. No one who's keeping the Roosevelt alive in the way that Sanders does today. No one who sees the most powerful and wealthy working against them, and the words of FDR, welcomes their hatred. No one with Bernie's level of vision with the Green New Deal, where we will transform our country and save the planet while including marginalized communities. I'm still just under 40 years old, but I've been organizing in this community for 20 years. In those years, I've learned a lot about the wants and needs of people from diverse backgrounds. And I can say that across the board, we want the dignity of jobs with wages that we can raise a family on. We want freedom from greedy health insurance companies. We want investments in our roads, our bridges, schools, parks, and sewers. We want to be able to continue our education without being strangled by debt for the rest of our lives. And we want a new Green Deal that will transform our economy and save the planet. And finally, we want to live in a country where billionaires are forced to pay their fair share of taxes on the profits they've made off of our backs. Bernie's bold ideas are just the foundation, though. He knows we can't do it alone. He knows that ideas without a movement don't get far. And he knows that he can count on all of us to make that movement strong, to keep pressure on as we take this country back from the billionaires and greedy corporations. I'd like to think I know a little bit about what it takes to make history. As one of very few openly gay Iowans ever elected public office, and I can tell you, looking around this room, I see history being done in the making. And that's why I'm proud to be a state co-chair for the Bernie 2020 campaign. It's an incredible honor, and I can't wait to put the work in. I can't wait to see all of you out there over these last 32 days before caucus night. And so I'm excited to stand together, shoulder to shoulder with people like you, behind the leadership and energy and courage this man models for us every single day. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you the next President of the United States Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me thank Waterloo for providing us with some good Vermont weather. I feel very comfortable. Let me suggest to you a few reasons why we are going to win here in Iowa, why we're going to win the Democratic nomination, and why we are going to defeat the most dangerous president in American history. All right? And the first reason, I think, is that the American people understand we have a political system which is corrupt, which allows billionaires and big money to buy elections, that we have an economy that is rigged in that almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%, while there are folks here in Iowa who are working for 10, 11 bucks an hour trying to take care of their families. And I think that we have the agenda that speaks to the needs of the working families of this country. And that's an agenda that says that if you work 40 hours a week, you're not going to live in poverty, because we're going to raise that minimum wage to 15 bucks an hour and make it easier for workers to join unions. It's an agenda that says we need to rethink education in America and make certain that every person, regardless of their income, I grew up in a working class family. Everybody, regardless of their income, should have the opportunity to get all of the education they need to fulfill their dreams. Not a radical idea. And that is why we're going to make public colleges and universities and trade schools tuition free and cancel all student debt in America. And we're going to win this election because we believe in Medicare for all. We believe that health care is a human right, that it is insane that 500,000 people in this country go bankrupt every year because of medically related bills. We understand that people have a right to go to any doctor they want, any hospital they want. We understand that it is unconscionable for the drug companies to continue to rip off the American people, charging us by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. So we are going to pass legislation that says you go to any doctor you want, go to any hospital you want, no premiums, no co-payments, no deductibles, no out-of-pocket expenses. We're going to pay for it in a fair and progressive way, which means the average American will pay substantially, let me underline, substantially less than he or she is paying for comprehensive health care. And I do want to mention that when we talk about Medicare for all, we are expanding what Medicare currently provides to include dental care. Last that I heard, dental care, oral health was part of health care, you know. Hearing aids, eyeglasses, and home health care, so that people are not pushed out of their homes into nursing homes. They can stay home. All right? So this campaign on day one is prepared to take on the greed and corruption of the health insurance industry and make it clear. The function of healthcare in America is to provide quality care for all, not huge profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies. And the other reason that we are going to win this campaign is because we are not afraid to tackle the most significant issues facing our country. And I feel very strongly that anyone from Trump on down who tells you that climate change is not real is not only lying to you, is not only rejecting science, but even worse, is endangering the well-being of these beautiful little kids that we have here and future generations. So we are prepared to do what is morally necessary, and that is to have the courage to take on the fossil fuel industry and to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And a lot of other issues that are out there: criminal justice, immigration reform, gun policy, women's rights to control her own body, and many others. But we are going to win because I think the American people are sick and tired of establishment politics, politics dominated by big money interest, and they want the politics of this country to reflect the needs of working families and people who are struggling. So that is one reason we're going to win. I'm going to tell you the other reason. Misty, come on up here. Misty Rebick is our state campaign director. And the reason we're going to win is that we are running a very different type of campaign than I think people in this country have ever seen. And what that means is that we are putting together the strongest grassroots effort here in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and all over this country that has ever been seen in American politics. And we're doing it also in the way we raise money. People ask me, what does it mean to be a part of the political revolution? You are part of it. Historically, as you know, candidates have gone to the wealthy and the powerful for their campaign contributions, and they end up representing the wealthy and the powerful. We don't. During this campaign up to now, we have received 5 million contributions, which is more contributions from more people than any candidate in the history of America at this point in an election. So that is transformative. That is transformative. In other words, if you're a candidate and you go to the rich people's homes and you get their money, you're going to end up doing the work for them. We are not. We don't want their money. We don't have a super PAC. We are relying on working people for our funding because we are there to represent working people. That's how we raise money. But then there's another part of it, and that is how we run the campaign. So I'm not here to tell you that we're not going to do TV ads. We're doing TV ads. Hopefully some of you have seen the TV ads, because spending a fortune on TV ads, I hope you've seen them. And we're doing radio ads and all that other stuff. We do that. But at the end of the day, let me tell you, what is far more important than the TV ads is the work that you are doing. All right, at the end of the day, there is nothing more important than knocking on a door or talking to somebody and say, you know what, this is why I'm supporting Bernie. This is why we need to transform our economy and our government in America. And you can do that better than any TV ad that's out there. Now, Misty here has laid out an incredibly unprecedented and ambitious agenda for what we're going to do here in Iowa in the next month. Misty, you want to say a word?
Sure. How's everybody doing? Kind kind of a tough act to follow. But look, here's the deal. You know how we make real change happen. It never comes from the top down, always comes from the bottom up. We do that from face-to-face conversations, talking to our friends, talking to our family, talking to our neighbors. So first of all, I want to say thank you to all of the people who I recognize, because I was just here a couple of weeks ago, who were going out and knocking doors then. And you are officially launching our weekend of action, where we're going to knock 75,000 doors this weekend. So applause. You should give yourself an applause for that. And then we're going to show up again next weekend, and we're going to knock 100,000 doors, and then we're going to knock another 100,000 doors. And by the end of January, by caucus day, we're going to knock over 500,000 doors here in the state of Iowa because of you. So we have the most, I would say, aggressive grassroots campaign here on the ground in Iowa. And I just want to thank all the volunteers for being here. Bundle up. We've got hand warmers. We've got all you need. We've got extra hats and mittens. And see you on the doors.
See, some things, thank you, Misty. Some things never change. I'm thinking back now as Misty was speaking, and it's snowing outside. To the first election that I ever won was way back in 1981 as mayor of Burlington, Vermont. And there were newspapers literally saying it's about 100 to 1 chance for Sanders to win. We were taking on a 5-term incumbent, that a machine there, very hard to beat. I knocked on, just like in weather like this, just in this time of year, our elections are in early March. We have town meetings early March. And we knocked on doors just like this. So 30 years later, nothing ever changes. We're still doing the same thing. But it is the right thing to do. It is the right. This is how you win elections. The challenge is to bring working people, young people, into the political process in a way we've never done before. So I'll maybe conclude by thanking Pastor Abraham Funchess for his support, Councilman Patrick Morrissey for his support, Supervisor Chris Schwartz for his support. We are picking up great endorsements all over this state, but the most important endorsement is yours. So thank you all very, very much. Let's go forward together.